And what really bothered me, just because I'm a lover of media marketing and content, was that a lot of these brands and nonprofits are just not inspiring. It's dying dogs out in the cold. It's children in Africa with flies on their faces. And it is not, I mean, that does not make me want to give you money consistently.
You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey there, No Labels, No Limits podcast listeners. This is Sarah Box, and you know I'm your host of the No Labels, No Limits podcast. So our purpose on the podcast is to bring you inspiring guests who have overcome challenges, who have experienced things they maybe never thought they would experience, so that we can each grow and learn from them and then turn around and enhance our own lives and the lives of other people that we touch. So our guest today, we've been laughing in the background, so I'm really excited to share him with you. But let me tell you a little bit about him. His name is Will Hedrick. He is considered a very dynamic entrepreneur and a visionary founder of myCharity. So you know we're going to talk about myCharity. But from starting his first company at 17 in his parents' garage to pioneering a platform that revolutionizes how we give, Will has embodied what it really means to drive change and to do that through innovation and passion, not just for the sake of driving change. His company, myCharity, not only makes donating easier, but it ensures donors see the impact of every penny contributed. So I'm going to dive into that world with him of philanthropy reimagined by someone who believes deeply in making donating a beloved activity. I just have to pause. That even just thinking about that, it is a beloved activity, and it is something that can be really fulfilling for the giver. Even the person who receives it will appreciate it. But donating, it just makes you connect with people differently. So I'm going to ask him about that. I'm going to talk about his own entrepreneurial journey, his innovative mechanisms of charity and actionable insights into impactful philanthropy, and we're going to have some laughs along the way. So with that, let me formally welcome Will onto the podcast. Hi, Will.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for having me. I need to pay you and carry you around with me to give that introduction wherever I go. That was outstanding. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for the kind words and setting this up for hopefully an amazing conversation. Really excited to be here.
Well, I know it's going to be good just because we're hanging out together and you have some good things, not just because we're hanging together, but I already know from chit chat with you where your heart is. And I think that for me is one of the most important things, where I can feel someone's coming from and their intent. Sometimes it's clunky, sometimes it's not, but it's just that sincerity. So, but I want to go back because I started one of my first business. It was an illegal business. I didn't know that at the time, making beer with my boyfriend when I was like 15. And we didn't stay in it long because, first of all, and it was really bad. And we were doing it in his bedroom closet, and his parents found out, and it didn't go over well for us. But at any rate, that whole entrepreneurial spirit, I just resonate with it, you know. So let's talk about when you started out and did your first company at a really young age. What was that like for you? What even drove you to want to do that?
Yeah. So driving to the decision was first just an interesting conversation. So I went to a very small school, graduating class size of 10 or 11 at high school. And so because of that, we got to get very close with the staff, the teachers, everyone that was there. And so I was in a math class my senior year one morning, and my math teacher was looking at breakfast room tables. She was trying to find a new piece of furniture. She had just moved, but she was so disappointed in all of this furniture that she was finding. And I was sitting up there looking at these tables she was looking at, and I was laughing, making fun of how expensive these tables were for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 that very clearly were not worth that much money. And so that was the first little bit of a light bulb. And so growing up, I also have to add, I was born into one of those families. My brother is now a general contractor and home builder, hence why we worked well together on building furniture. But we were one of those families where if anything broke within our house, we fixed it. We did not hire anyone to do it. We've had a massive garage full of tools and things that we could access very quickly. And so when that light bulb went off of, hey, maybe I'll just make you this table and see what happens. And so I took those little bit of tools that we had, the little bit of knowledge, and my brother and I built this table and delivered it to her the next weekend. And honestly, I think what really triggered that was just a little bit of curiosity in seeing maybe this could turn into something, not even necessarily to make money, but just something that we enjoyed. We'll learn about building a business, learn about the entrepreneurial process, and just see where this goes. And so then we went from there and ran that for about 2 years building furniture. And I'll let you ask and steer the conversation as to how much in depth you want me to go with further from there.
Well, I want to observe one of the things you said, that you started just to be curious and see where it went, right? You didn't have like, if it doesn't do A, then it's not worth it. If it doesn't do B, success is only looking like this, right? So did you when you guys did it, was it just fun? You were able to keep that feeling of fun in doing their furniture?
Yeah. I think that, it had always been, I'm sitting and I wish I could show you that, even the desk that I have, some furniture in this room right now is just that I've built, and it's just a fun process. But it was a good experience just to work together and spend more time with my brother as well. So that was a good excuse. And it had just been fun. And I think that whenever I coach or mentor entrepreneurs in those early stages, or even just I want to start something, but I don't even know what, being able to separate this financial and profitable need that everyone has and to start building something that is a little bit more impact or mission driven or something like that, something that you really want to do, not only does it make it more fun and more rewarding, but the chances of your surviving and getting through those hard times that no matter what are going to happen, it makes it just a lot more worth it.
I think that can often get lost. It's like, okay, now you have to hit these metrics. You have to do these things, especially when it starts being formal. But if we can approach, I really think that, I focus a lot on nonprofits, but I actually think if you can bring that entrepreneurial mindset into whatever you're doing, it takes pressure off of you. It's like, we're just going to see how this goes, right? We might keep doing it. It might be a 3-month thing and we just say, no, it was good, but it wasn't, we don't want to stay in the space. It's not best for us or whatever. But the concept of you and your brother working together just is that sense of camaraderie too, to enjoy something, to bounce back and forth. So then where did you go from there?
Yeah, so we did furniture for about 2 years, older brother. So we started at my senior year of high school. I guess it was the end of my junior year. So we started that. He had graduated and was going to college about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Once I graduated high school and went off to college about an hour away, it became very inconvenient to come back, build things on the weekends, deliver them, deal with all of the logistics. So eventually we shut that down and I went into as a full-time college student. But I also decided that I wanted to get my real estate license. I had been interested in sales. Again, my mom had gotten her real estate license about a year before I did. So I was able to kind of see her journey and her interest in that and be able to pick her brain a little bit. But again, what I thought was an excellent parallel, being a college student, but B, from the furniture world, is that real estate is a very low barrier to entry into entrepreneurship. In North Carolina, where I got my license, it's $200, $300 to take a course, and then you're good to go. You have to join a firm. Maybe there's some fees onto that, but really you can start a full-fledged career for less than $500. And so I thought that was really interesting because I knew, obviously, I did not want to drop out of college immediately or do anything like that. This was going to be I got my degree. I should add that in there. It was not going to be something that was going to be life consuming immediately. And so I thought that sales in general, from my thought, was very, very interesting because the best salespeople that I know are just people that are good with other people. They aren't trying to sell you anything. They're trying to build relationships. And then the real estate vehicle itself is one of the best places to be in sales. They're the most expensive assets pretty much globally. And it's a very, very interesting class to be in. So I got my real estate license and then did that for almost 4 years, almost the entire time. Well, a little bit more than the entire time that I was in college. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
What was your biggest takeaway from that? If you have.
I think that would be the relationship building in sales. That the best sales training I ever got, or the best way to sum up sales, is that people hate being sold, but they love going shopping with friends. And so being able to take that pressure out of it, and I think that you and I were already hitting on this at the beginning of taking the pressure out of entrepreneurship, taking the pressure out of sales, that Sarah, I want to get to know you, and I'm genuinely interested in bettering your life, whether you buy a home for me, sell a home for me, or anything like that. And that is what I thought I took away again of not every conversation that you need to be in does not have to result in sale. Actually build relationships, maybe wild idea, care about some of the people you work with. I know that's crazy. But I would say that. And then B, again, just how interesting and how much I loved entrepreneurship and working for myself, setting my schedule, having the diversity within a day to go from a sales meeting, a showing, whatever that was, to sitting down and doing the unsexy finance work that you'd have to do, and then going off and doing some marketing, some filming, some things like that, and putting it all together into a really diverse and fun career.
So it's interesting because you talk about sales, and I was just talking about that with someone yesterday about like selling, how uncomfortable it is. And I'm thinking, not really. You're just chatting with people to see what they need, right? And maybe it's not you, and maybe it is. But really, if you know that, the next time you hear someone who can help that person, it's just connecting people, right? Which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's fun. It's like, hey, I met this, and this gal who I know, but I didn't know how she could maybe help a client I have. And I said, she's showing me on a screen. I says, 2 things. That's a great piece of simple explanation. I'm ripping you off, just giving you a heads up. I'm going to utilize it for my own conversation because she's strong in that area. I said, but I actually know someone right now who is in a place where they would really have value in talking to you. Right? That wasn't the intent. We were just trying to catch up on some things. We haven't chatted for a while. And I thought, this would really help this client I'm working with who's growing, right? And they don't need a ton of help. They need a little help. So you're right. It's just, and I'm not selling for myself, right? Hopefully they'll connect and go on their merry way. And everybody more successful all the way around. So you go from that. How did you get into philanthropy?
Yeah. So after I had spent about 3 years in real estate, and there was even a sliver at the end. Actually, when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City and did real estate in Manhattan for almost 6 months. And so when I was up there, when I left North Carolina, I had started a real estate firm, was doing really well. I just had lost the purpose and the passion on that side. And I had thought maybe I could supplement this with maybe starting a foundation on the side, a side project, something like that. And so I put that on the back burner, moved to New York, thought maybe this will be the reinvigoration that I needed. A new city, big, most expensive homes in the world. I mean, it was right up what I was doing already in luxury real estate here. But it just further affirmed that this career I had done what I wanted to do. And it was time to hang my hat up and maybe move in another direction. And fortunately, again, I mean, another piece of advice that I take from the real estate world that I tell people all the time, well, I guess more the furniture world, is that the luckiest and best decision I ever made was starting young and realizing that at 17, this is what I wanted to do. And so when I was in real estate and in college, I saved all the money that I made and was able to actually have some capital to invest into something else, no matter what it was that I wanted to do. So once I decided that I wanted to leave real estate, moved back to Charlotte and was like, I'm going to spend a little bit of time figuring out what this next startup that I want to build is going to be. And this idea of a nonprofit just kept bugging me and bugging me and bugging me. And the original iteration is much different than what we are today. But this constant realization of that there are so many outstanding nonprofits, organizations and foundations and companies doing amazing work in the world, but the vast majority of the people that I knew do not donate consistently to nonprofits because donating, it's difficult. And a lot of people think, oh, how can it be difficult? But if you want to go and donate to cancer research, whatever that is, you go into Google, a million different results pop up. How do you know who to support, who you shouldn't support? You can figure that out slightly by going through their financials online. If you are a CPA or have an accounting degree, I run a nonprofit and I can't tell you what those public tax returns are really telling us. Charity Navigator, those other websites and platforms are outstanding. But again, that's an algorithm and a ranking. What does that really tell us? And so
It's only part of
I was piecing, exactly. So I was piecing together, it's difficult to donate. It's not engaging. No nonprofits really do a good job of telling you exactly what your money, Sarah, did in the field. They might tell you annualized what they did as an impact. And then third, and what really bothered me, just because I'm a lover of media marketing and content, was that a lot of these brands and nonprofits are just not inspiring. It's dying dogs out in the cold. It's children in Africa with flies on their faces. And it is not, that does not make me want to give you money consistently. And so I was pulling this all together. And then once I sat down and I saw this equation, the last thing that really drove me over the edge was Netflix. So Netflix made $34 billion last year. But if every single person, those 250 million people that have Netflix, everyone that I know pays $10 a month, if we were able to create a vehicle that is as awesome as it is to pay for Netflix as it is to donate, we could, in 1 year, give 770 million people access to clean water that have never had access to it before. That would solve the global water crisis in 1 year. We could do 1,100 pivotal oncology trials. There would be a handful of cancer solutions within there. And then this list just continues to go on for every cause in the world. And so you sit down and you see this equation, and I could not leave that alone. And so here we are almost 2 years later and dedicated, I guess it's going to be a lot of years to this problem because I'm just addicted to what we're doing. I think it is so impactful, so powerful, and so exciting to see people email me and be like, I cannot believe what $10 a month is doing in the field. I can't believe that this is what I'm actually making an impact in. I can see this down to the penny. So that was a long ramble.
Because well, that's super important. It just makes me think about a bunch of other questions. So part of it's tactical. Sorry, I just saw a really pretty bird just fly. I had a shiny penny moment on you, Will.
There you go.
So first of all, I want to affirm what you're saying about these guys doing great work, but their outward-facing media, their impact stories aren't necessarily targeted to the people who are donating to them to say, hey,
well,
specifically, and what did it go?
And apologies to interrupt. I also want to make this abundantly clear, and I say this all the time. This is not the nonprofit's fault. The general consensus is that nonprofits in the United States should be overworked and underpaid. They should not have a budget for marketing. They should not be paying executives what they're worth. And it's created a huge problem. Everyone is fighting for the same money from either ultra wealthy individuals or a certain amount of foundations. And it's no wonder that they can't afford to tell people what their donations are going to, what their marketing dollars are actually worth, because I cannot tell you the amount of organizations that we make grants to that is a 5-person and below team.
Yeah.
They're
small, they're scrappy, and they do great work. But funders typically say, well, I'm not paying for that or that. And I'm thinking, okay, nonprofits are a business. There are hundreds of thousands of them in the U.S. Some are small, some are not, but they pay employees. They have an economic impact in their communities. And you wouldn't expect your own business to run without a margin, to run without a business plan, and to run without some way of supporting yourself. The worst thing I think people forget is if a nonprofit goes out of business, all the people who have counted on it are left in the lurch, right? It's like, now what? So it's not, anyway, the whole thing, and having been a nonprofit executive for 2 different nonprofits, getting on that grant cycle, apply, report, I'm going, what a waste of talent, right? It should be simple. It shouldn't be just like report because we want to know, but we never read it and we're not your partners. And that's my little rant. But I want to know how you got around that and what you're doing.
Yeah. So I'll back up because I'll introduce who we are and what we do. So My Charity is a tech nonprofit that makes donating easier, more informational, and more engaging for the everyday donor, Sarah, like you and me and anyone listening to this. And so our mission and our goal is to make people love donating. And it's really, really that simple. And so how it works is users go online. They pick and choose the causes that they care about. We have 40 different options ranging from cancer to climate change to malaria. You build a package and donate monthly. We then take 100% of those donations to those causes directly to the field and follow it with photos, videos, GPS coordinates, financial reports, and field notes proving down to the penny exactly what your donation did. And so how we work on the back end is that we take all of these donations and pool them together. So if we have 100 donations for cancer research, those all go into a pool. And once we hit a goal, we'll say $1,000 just for the example, we make a grant to a pre-vetted and pre-approved nonprofit in the field. And so the reason that this is so outstanding for our users is that we have a team, and I mean, we're here, philanthropy experts that are connecting with nonprofits and constantly talking to them all the time. We know what nonprofits need money and who is really moving the needle in cancer research, again, for this example. 2, when we make a grant, yes, they are extensive and a lot of work, but I think that our grants are some of the easiest to work with because we want that proof. We want to be able to do the math and handle all of this for you to say, Sarah, you're $100, did this, that, and the other, and you get photos, videos, GPS coordinates, financial reports, the field notes, the whole nine. And we compile all of that together. Once our partners in the field have done their work and send them back to all of our donors. So it's really almost like this machine that we have created from connecting people to the causes that they care about, letting us be a service to you all. That's what we are, is we're just a service of then taking that money and putting it to the best use humanly possible.
And what if, so let me compare that to like a community foundation, which is similar in thought process, right? So, but do you allow people to designate their dollars to specific organizations? Or like if you say cancer, but I only want to fund cancer research, can you get that granular with folks?
We not at the moment. So what you donate towards is the cause. You donate to cancer, you donate to malaria, whatever it is. And so the reason that we do that, and I tell people this all the time, if you have one organization that you want to support, please go directly to them, because build that rapport, connect with them, tell them that you love their mission, because it's an injustice to them to not be able to connect and build rapport with you. And I mean, anyway, it saves us a few extra dollars transferring that wire. We're 100% anyway. So it's just much easier. Now, at the moment, you cannot donate. We'll continue on the cancer route just for the example. Yeah, you can't donate specifically to cancer research, cancer, familial stuff, whatever you want to do within there. But these are features that we've gotten common requests on, and we're going to roll out soon. So another common request is to be able to subdivide or categorize a little bit further. So cancer, be able to donate to breast cancer or neuroblastoma or sort it in that way. The example that I always use is homelessness. A lot of people that are really interested in homelessness in general as a cause want to donate specifically to their community. And so we're adding those features in to be able to restrict those a little bit more. But at the moment, you can't. But the biggest thing is that as a platform and as an organization, I mean, we're here to serve our donors. We want people to love donating. So you can go online right now, and our Contact Us page has a suggestion box almost within it. And you can go and write what causes you might want, what other things that you might like to see come to the field, and see come to fruition. Because I mean, again, we can go even further back. The name My Charity is very specific for a reason. This is the public's charity. I want people to think, Sarah, I want you to think that this is your charity. This is your charitable giving. You're being able to really create what you want to do philanthropically.
So now let's go back to your Netflix analogy. So how does My Charity parallel that? So people can, because I know what our subscription is. You just pay it. It's there when you need it. You know what's what. You get updates. Here's what we're doing. Here's new releases, all that. So which is the simplified version of you saying, here's where your dollars went, blah, blah, blah. So how does that help people stay connected and kind of fall in love with donor?
Yeah, yeah, it's storytelling, right? I mean, that's all that it comes down to. I want, and to be completely honest, I mean, we're 2 years old. We're a new organization. I mean, in 5 years and 2 years and 2 months, it'll be amazing what I think that we can achieve. But what we're trying to do is connect. Sarah, you donated to cancer research. Here is what that research paper had funded, and here is the story of someone whose cancer has now been solved because you funded that research a few years ago. And I mean, listen to how amazing this is and the work that your money is actually doing. That is how you start to make a difference. And that's why individualizing these donations and this reporting is so important, because if I get an annual report that says we did X, Y, and Z with your $20 million that we raised this year, that means absolutely nothing to me. And it is not exciting. It's not inspiring. It is just not something that makes me say, I want not even necessarily to donate more. I just want to be a part of this because we're actually finally making a change.
Yeah. And people, I just had a similar conversation yesterday, and I call him a young guy, but he's in his 30s, 40s. But anyway, he started a foundation. Long story, so I won't go into his whole background. And he said, we're so close to having this done. And I'm thinking he's talking lots of money close. Right? And I says, well, what's it going to take to get you over the line for this first major milestone? And he goes, $20,000. And I think, drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
You stand back, right? Especially if you have this dedicated people who believe in that cause, if you will. So, but I find with sometimes nonprofits, especially when they're looking at their budget, they're going, well, that's so much money. I'm thinking, it's not that much money. A business would look at that and say it's necessary. So there's a mindset shift, but then also for the donor thing to say it is a gift to give. It is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So when you started, how did you enlist your supporters to say, hey, I'm doing this thing? Because what you're talking about is not a lone wolf project. Lone wolf. There's an L in there, sir.
Yeah.
A lone wolf project.
It really was. I mean, I think that, again, fortunately for me, starting young, I mean, we're going back to that again. I had, I guess, 6 years of entrepreneurial experience. So I had built so many relationships with people that were either entrepreneurs or in the real estate space or in the retail space from furniture, that when it was time to come back and say, I'm interested in starting something else, and I'm interested in doing something impactful and wanting to build this platform and go into all of the depths and chaos of what had been going on in my brain, I think that it was easy, again, going back to sales, to already have this team there of people that had believed in me because they had seen a track record of doing this, that, and the other. But then, I mean, with our model and what we do, even if they did not want to support our operations or anything on that side and make a donation to keep the lights on, people are donating just through the platform and want to make a difference because they like what we do. So, I mean, again, keeping those relationships going and building, and not just burning bridges left and right and leaving a trail of chaos behind me wherever I go. I think that has served me very well. Just because, I mean, you can pick up the phone and call someone that you haven't talked to in years. And if you have been there for them, if you are a genuine and good person, it really goes a long way with when the time comes for you to do something else, that they're there for you and believe in you.
Yeah, that is true. It's sometimes we think it's not, and so we just keep muscling through. And I know and it's hard for me because I'm more of an introvert, but one of the hardest things for me to learn was people do want to help, right?
Oh, yeah.
So just ask, find out what happens. The worst that can happen is nothing. And that's not the worst. That's still information. That's still information. So when I do want to think, because I know you're young as an organization, but I can feel your energy. You have a big vision of where it can be. I want you to go out like 10 years from now. So think about Netflix and its little thing when it was coming after Blockbuster's heels. Going, here, Blockbuster, we gotcha. Where are you going to be? And 10 years from now, and then think about that in that whole grant research piece and how that might help people. But just step back and go, man, 10 years at the rate we're going and the vision for where it's going, here's where I can see us being.
Yeah. I think that no matter what, whenever I look at a timeline, it's very hard to predict numbers or anything along that. But I mean, in 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, however long it takes years, I want as many people to love donating as they do having Netflix. I mean, 31% of people in the United States donate monthly to a nonprofit. Yet the average American spends $219 a month on subscriptions. So, I mean, clearly there's a problem there. And so, I mean, I would love to have, I mean, Netflix has 230, I think, million people that are subscribed to their platform. I would love to have hundreds of millions of people globally using this and making their difference. I mean, and it really, what I think is outstanding is that it's not too insanely unrealistic because there is no platform out there that exists like this. And being able to connect and actually show people what their donations are doing, tell these stories and get people to love donating and send 100% of their donations to the field. It really is not crazy because I just think that, again, I guess I'm blowing smoke for myself here for the platform. I just think it's that outstanding of a product.
Yeah, I don't think that's blowing smoke. I think
I'll take it.
Well, and I know that's one of the things when we donate we have organizations we donate to every year just because they matter to us and we want them to continue doing their work. We don't feel we need to be in there micromanaging how they do it or anything.
Yeah.
And the one question, because I've been in nonprofits long, always like, do you think that's too much of an overhead? And I said, it depends. Let me see what they do, right? It could be, if there's only one person, they've got a 50% overhead, it could be too much. But don't just say because someone, they have 2% overhead. I said, that doesn't mean anything. You can hide stuff, right? So anyway, I think getting in that habit of donating, and it's so easy. It's like investing or saving, right? If you give just a little bit over time, it compounds and it does make a difference, especially when you pool your dollars like you're doing with other people's dollars. They go further.
Yeah.
And that donating thing, it was interesting a few years ago. I was part of looking retrospectively when we were working with a community on capacity building. The percentage that lower income people give relative to their income tends to be higher than higher income people. And I found that so inspiring, right? I just thought, okay, so if it's easy for them to give, and they're not giving locally, but they want to give on a broader scale, I think your platform would be super easy. It'd be so great if Netflix said, let's just give $1 out of every subscription to you guys.
Well, and there's so many unique things and opportunities that I would love. I mean, I could spew off 1,000 different ideas from just credit card roundups to plugins at shopping carts. Every time that you buy something, that a few pennies goes into your donation portfolio and the things that you want to do. I've got a billion different ideas as to what we could do, just because I think that you're exactly right, that giving is a muscle in the same way that just being happy or waking up early or holding the door for someone or just being the kind of person that you want to be, saving. It's a muscle, and you get, in the best way possible, addicted to it. You get addicted to seeing that, this $10 over a few months gave someone clean drinking water that has never had access to it beforehand. And the number is $40 roughly on average to give one person clean drinking water. I cannot think of a human that wouldn't be able to budget at some point in time, whether it's a day or a year, to set aside $40 if they knew that that's what the impact was that they were going to do. And so that's what we're trying to build and help people just see how impactful it is. Because Sarah, I don't have to preach to you. Being in the nonprofit space, how fun this is, and how enjoyable it is to get back and see your impact. It is the best experience ever, and people talk about it all the time. But unfortunately, a lot of the nonprofit experiences that people have is you donate, whether it's at Christmas time in the red bucket outside of a store, or if it's online or anything like that, and it's crickets. You might get a receipt, but there's not too much coming back. And so it just puts a foul taste in your mouth. So I think that what we're doing and what we're building, obviously it'll make our platform grow and be outstanding, but I think that it'll shift the nonprofit world into a new era. And that's what I'm really excited about.
It puts it into, I don't want to make it sound less valuable, that it almost makes it a commodity to donate.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that word commodity. It's the wrong word. So let me just say that's the wrong word. But like Netflix is a commodity. It's,
Hmm.
we're getting something from it. I just think we haven't learned to see what we get. We think we're giving something, but we're really getting something. We're getting a sense
Oh,
of
yeah.
feeling like we're helping when we don't know how to help. So, okay. So I've got one question for you. I want to ask
Yeah.
you if you could ask our audience to give you feedback or insight on one thing, what might it be? Like, what would you like to hear someone put in the notes to this to say, hey, Will, I got a question, or this is something I thought about. What would you be curious about?
I am always curious in listening to the stories as to why people don't donate, or why they have had a poor experience, or maybe why they've had an excellent experience. Anything that I can do to get some data or thoughts or anything along those lines to say, this was an outstanding experience, this was not an outstanding experience. Anything that I can make. I mean, again, our mission is to make people love donating. And I think that anything that we can do, or any feedback that we can get that says, this is really cool, this is just an idea that I had, I'd love to support another cause or something along those lines. That we talk about all the time. Anything like that. I mean, even if it is a quote unquote stupid idea or anything. I mean, there's no such thing as stupid ideas. I just love having any conversation within giving to get people excited. And I mean, heck, take ownership in what we're doing.
Yeah. So that's an open invitation to listeners. When you see this on whatever platform, if you're seeing it or listening to it, whatever platform you are, in the comments, of course, we would love you to rate and review the episode, but I would really like to hear the answer to Will's question. Like, have you had a good experience, a bad? I would, because that way we can engage people, and you can learn something, I can learn something, and people can learn from one another, because I think it's just an easy place to ask a question and learn, get some information.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do, please say that you came from this episode, and I'll bookmark them and send them over your way, Sarah, so you can read them as well, because I know that you'd love it.
I do. I like hearing what people have. I don't always remember to look, but I have other people who help me go, hey, are you paying attention? I go, I'm on to I'm trying to research some stuff myself. So, but I do like it because I know our team looks at it. And I was specifically asked by one gal, she goes, we really want to know what people are thinking about the guests so we can get that back to the guest, right? Because if we hear something, we want you to know as well. But I also think that dialogue between people is really powerful.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we often ask our guests if they have listened to a previous episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast. And if they have, did they have a takeaway from it? So I'm posing that question to you at the moment.
Yeah. And I wish, and you and I briefly talked about this before we got on, I should have written down and scribbled which specific episode it was that I listened to. It was about 4 to 6 months ago, I remember, because I had scrolled that far down. But I just had loved, in the takeaway from all of these episodes, the diversity of opinion and topics and things like that. Again, I mean, even just what we were just talking about of getting feedback. I just love having conversations with people and hearing their thoughts, their background, just being curious. And I think being open to weird opinions or ideas that I might have never heard about before. So that's my first big thing that I loved about this podcast. And the second thing is the quality of communication. I mean, luckily I'm sitting on this end and you and I have now had a conversation, but I think that good podcasts make it seem like that the 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever people are on it, are just sitting down having a conversation. And we're the lucky ones, the guests, the audience, to sit in and hear in on this. A conversation that I wouldn't have had normally, an audience I wouldn't have been a part of, or a table or a seat at a table I wouldn't have had access to. And that is my favorite part of what you do. You open up people, and most importantly, you pull up a chair for all of these listeners to sit down and actually have a little bit of insight into other people's worlds.
Well, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
What a very kind thing to say. It is. I'm kind of like addicted to talking to people I've never met. I was told as a kid that we used to go to these family restaurants, not often because we weren't really that well off, but my dad said I would get up and go to strangers' tables and just start talking to them. And I said I did. He goes, you'd ask him questions. And I'm thinking, so that goes back a while. But anyway, it's held true for years and decades. So thanks for that feedback. Will, I'm going to leave you with the last word on the podcast. So what is one thing you want our listeners to take away? We will have all of your connection things in the show notes, so don't let it be that. But what is one takeaway you want to remind listeners before we say finally, adios?
Do whatever you can to make your impact in the world. It does not mean that I need you to go and sign up and donate. You can hold the door. You can tell someone that they look nice. You can just make an impact in any way. So do whatever it is that you can today. Make a difference in someone's life. That would be the one thing that I would say to take away.
Okay, Golden Nugget podcast listeners, you heard it. And we'll be back next week with another episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I do hope if you did enjoy it, you will share it with someone else who you know would benefit. Rate and review it. Give some feedback to Will. And check out his websites and see what's going on there.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic business coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. Please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Till next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.